What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Starling on Cinemas. That's Cinemas with an S, and today it is that day I've been waiting for, my re-review of Black Panther. Before I begin, if you are new to this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment on the section below. Most importantly, watch, but even most importantly, listen. Because the reason why I am in this filter, usually I use filters on different occasions on my reviews, but in this case in point, this is the review where I will be giving my condolences to Chadwick Boseman because of his passing, obviously. And Black Panther is the role that was a legacy-defining role for the people and for Chadwick as a whole. So let's get to it. So, even though I gave you my original review for Black Panther, told you the synopsis, I'm going to still give you the synopsis because that's just part of my system, my little system I have. So, anyway, after the death of his father, T'Chaka, in Captain America's Civil War, T'Challa returns home to the African nation of Wakanda to take his rightful place as king. But when a powerful enemy suddenly reappears named Erik Killmonger, T'Challa's mettle as king and Black Panther gets tested when he's drawn into a conflict that puts the fate of Wakanda and the entire world at risk. Faced with treachery and danger, the young king must rally up his allies, Okoye, Shuri, and Nakia, and foreigner Everett, CIA agent, and release the full power of the Black Panther to defeat his foes and secure the safety of his people. Now, before I go forward, since I pretty much gave you a review on this movie, this will be much more of a. It's gonna be like my first review, but much deeper, obviously, because you know how I am. You know how my knowledge is about these things. You know it's gonna be very deep, at least 10 minutes. That's not the goal, but that's what I expect it to be. Seeing how I have much more to say this time than I did the last time. So let's get to it. Talk about the legacy of the story. Looking back on this movie after Chadwick's death, Black Panther is many things. It is more of a movement than another superhero movie. Better yet, that's the way I see this movie. I don't see, although it is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is within the continuity of the Infinity Saga and Thanos, but within its own, but Black Panther on its own feels more of a great movie, period, than a great Marvel movie. Not saying it's one of the best ones. Of course, it's one of the best movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I see this more just as a great movie, period, as opposed to when you compare it to the other Marvel movies before it and after it. Like, it isn't the most action-packed, but that doesn't mean it's not a great movie. Black Panther has a great story that has resonated with everybody, and not just black people. It ain't just for black people, it's for everybody. But mainly because of Chadwick Boseman's performance as the King of Wakanda and how the movie's popularity has shaped the black culture of the modern age. See, when Black Panther first came out, everybody was doing this. Everybody was doing the Wakanda salute instead of dabbing, instead of this. Everybody went from this to this. It may be a famous gesture now, especially with those who are still paying respects to Chadwick Boseman passings, but that goes to show how much impact this movie has put on everybody. This movie has put an impact on everybody to the capacity that everybody's doing this instead of this or this. The impact it has on the younger generation will stick with us for many years to come, because people like me finally get to see a fictional character who looks like them take the lead. And I'm saying, for those of you who even misheard me, you're probably saying, well, Black Panther isn't the first black superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Technically, when I say he's the first black superhero, when everybody says he's the first black superhero, he's the first black superhero lead, because every black character we see in movies, in most movies, they're usually somebody's best friend or the side character. And in the MCU, we've seen Rhodey, War Machine, who is the friend of Tony Stark, and Sam Wilson, the Falcon, who is the friend of Captain America. But Black Panther is truly the first black superhero to stand on his own, to take the lead, to take the forefront of his own world. But the legacy mostly comes from how we finally get a superhero movie that shows recognition towards diversity and the culture of African Americans. It is one of the few movies, I said this in my original review, but I'm going to say it again because I'm not going to say it's the only movie because this ain't the only movie. It is one of the few black movies centered on black people that defies the usual stereotypes of presenting black people as being nothing but super thugs, hustlers, gangbangers, pimps, prostitutes, etc. You name it. Finish the list. I know you can. It focuses on the brighter side of our culture, such as our standard of living, ancestry, knowledge, power, impact, and extraordinary nature. Aside from the impact it brings, Black Panther is just a beautiful story, man. About leadership and responsibility and how to best use that leadership. Are you going to use it to sharpen others or break them down? Because as the good book once says, iron sharpens iron just as any man can sharpen another. And T'Challa even said, while the wise men build bridges, the foolish men build barriers. The characters. Now, my segment about the characters in my original review was great, but this is a lot deeper. Like I said, I'm in too deep with this one. The same year that Chadwick Boseman started playing Black Panther is the same year he was diagnosed with colon cancer. So for those of you who don't know, which I am assuming most of you do, but if you do not know, Chadwick Boseman was diagnosed with this in 2016. Like the same year he started playing The same year he started playing Black Panther in Captain America Civil War, that is when he became diagnosed with this disease. Can you honestly imagine anybody else in the world continuously fighting and being persistent in their career, knowing one day something tragic could potentially scratch the surface? Now, because honestly, he could have made the choice of seeing somebody to cure this disease. But imagine if he actually did that. If he did that, yes, he'd still be living to this day. But he wouldn't have brought us he wouldn't have brought the contributions to the MCU that he did with Black Panther and all of the other 3 big events in the MCU. He has portrayed Black Panther in 4 Marvel movies, including his own. And every time he's on screen, he never disappoints. Whether he's showing off his slick martial arts, expressing his wisdom and wealth to his people and his allies. Now, fortunately, Chadwick's portrayal as Black Panther and the way he does it makes it parallel to his real life stamina as an actor to always fight, to always be there for his fans, and to always give 200% when he is on set and off set. Because he wasn't just Black Panther in front of the camera, he was a Black Panther off camera. Chadwick is a true king and warrior, seeing how everything he did and said was for justice and order. Now, as far as the side characters go, if you saw my original review, you know I love the side characters in Black Panther. This is the one Marvel movie with the best side characters. No, they're not throwing any shade at the other Marvel films, but this is the one this is the one MCU film where each of the characters are lovable. Each of the side characters are lovable and irresistible because they each add such a saturated substance to the film. You know what I mean? Like Michael B. Jordan's Erik Killmonger provides a special antagonist who, just like Thanos, is driven by ulterior motives and purpose. One who leans heavily on his birthright as a Wakandan citizen and represents the product of somebody who loses their father and becomes abandoned, hence becoming a creature of revenge rather than redemption. Now, honestly, if I could ask 4 random black men in this world, like 4 black strangers I don't even know, and put the scene and talk about Killmonger being abandoned by his ancestors after his father was killed, one of those men can at least tell me they can relate to that. Because there's that almost every black man in the world can relate to this, because this is not just with black people, this is just with men, period. Because most men, there are those men in the world who have had father absency, therefore growing up to be ignorant and becoming somebody like Killmonger. But I mentioned before how each supporting character in Black Panther is compelling because they each add a different element to the film. General Okoye of the Dora Milaje, played by Danai Gurira, represents strong female force. Lupita Nyong'o's Nakia represents loyalty and love. Letitia Wright's Shuri represents, who's T'Challa's sister, is the comic relief of the movie and is the biggest brain of Wakanda. And Daniel Kaluuya, my boy Daniel Kaluuya, the one that got out with the Queen of Slims. Wakabi represents loyalty for the first half of the film and betrayal for the second act, seeing how he lost his faith in T'Challa, all because he couldn't bring a sound criminal back to the land. Now, I won't give you my ratings for this, because although you can watch my other review if you want to know my rating, it's 8.9 SOs, by the way, just a little quick tidbit for you. But for this section, I'll be giving you my closing comments. This is straight from the heart. This is how I feel. And this is just giving references, borrowing references from what other people have said about Chadwick. Now, while this is not the last Chadwick Boseman movie I am watching for this part of the series of the Black Lives Matter playlist, I'm still giving you The Five Bloods and 21 Bridges. Those would be the last two. Those were relatively his last two movies that he did. But there is just something special and rewarding about seeing him play the part of the King of Wakanda while being diagnosed with colon cancer. Nobody could have guessed that he has cancer on screen. I know usually when you have cancer, it takes a long time to look a certain way to be visible with that kind of disease. But Chadwick didn't just shake the world with his portrayals of historical figures, but who he was as a person and how he always brought light everywhere he went. He poured out to the kids who were also struggling with cancer at hospitals around the same time period, brought a great contribution to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and showed the world that anybody can be a king, bring justice to an unjust world, and be unbreakable on the outside even if you are crumbling on the inside. Chadwick Boseman is the true definition of a warrior, a leader, a light in people's lives, and a king. Rest in peace, King Chadwick, and Wakanda forever. I'll see you guys next time with my next video. Wakanda forever.